at the end. So, but again, that doesn't happen 95 or 90, obviously even 99% of the time. Everybody goes into their social classes. So, in fact, there was 5 social classes. So you had the Judd Nelson. He was sort of like the outlaw biker type of, delinquent kid. You had the nerdy smart kid. You had the grunge girl. You had the prom queen. And you had the wrestler who was like the jock.
Mm-hmm.
Emilio Estevez was the jock of the group. So again, typically that's how friendships form. It's whatever circle that you find yourself in any one of those, you congregate and you coalesce around those like-minded people, regardless if you have a lot in common with those people. But that's a lot of times that's how friendships form. And you stay in that, and as a result of you being in those spaces, there's also an image and reputation to uphold. So if you were in the Sweet 16 crowd, you had to have the right clothes, the right look, the hippest things. You wouldn't be caught dead with hanging out with one of those other people. Oh, what are you hanging out with him for? Ooh, what are you hanging with her for? She's just, ooh, I can't believe you're doing that. What's the matter with you? You don't want to hang with? So again, those kind of friendships based on culture, based on class, based on interest or whatever, that's kind of almost like the natural way things happen. You don't even have to be very deep with those people or have even liked those people, but that's just the class that you fall into. And because of that, you know, that can go on for a time. But again, as you get older, hopefully you get to a point where you start looking beyond the surface. You start looking past your circle. But a lot of times though, that may not happen at least until college age or beyond. Because at that time, you don't really care so much about um, those social classes the way you did, although some people do. I mean, once you become an adult, you get into these adult associations and professional environment and whatnot, then there's another sort of class that you have to deal with. But for me, I've always been the type of person, because I've been on both sides. I have friends, or I've developed friendships with almost every kind of social class, every background, every ethnicity. So I understand, things in a way that in fact, it's almost the only negative about that. And it's interesting because my girls, in a lot of ways, they're the same way. They have a lot of different friends who may or may not be part of their socioeconomic circle, but they vibe. But the issue then becomes, though, you can't have a lot of those people together, because you might be operating out of just that sort of pure sense of, they know you. Shout out to Coach. They know you. You knew them. You get to know the person. But these classes don't necessarily go away, or the way of thinking sometimes doesn't go away. So there's a lot of times where I've had events, I've had parties, and I haven't invited everybody to it, because it would be odd, because I'm one person. I would be spreading myself too thin trying to entertain persons who might still be operating in a way that it makes the interaction awkward. Like, I can switch up. Like, I can be in certain spaces. I can talk about comic books and Marvel characters and whatnot. I could be in the sports world and talk about sports and that culture. I could be in a religious group and talk about that. I can be in a lot of different places. Getting these groups together, a lot of times that's difficult. And so a lot of times it's like, just to make sure people are comfortable, I have to at least make sure, if I have had events like that, I've had to invite multiple people of the same group, so that at least they would have someone to talk to. But it can be very awkward sometimes when you got someone who's in this community trying to talk to this one. Yeah, I can play the social experiment. It doesn't always work. Even though every one of those people has feelings about me, but because I'm multifaceted, that doesn't necessarily mean that my social circles can always join. So a lot of times I'll do different events with different people. So I'll hang out with these people one night. I'll hang out with another set of people the other night. I'll talk to these friends the other night. And so again, it's like a lot of my friendships are compartmentalized. But sometimes it's difficult to bring everybody together because not everyone's going to vibe like that. Or what you'll find out is that you get everybody together and then everybody just kind of coalesces into one corner over here, one corner over here, one corner over here. Not everyone's interacting. No one, a lot of people aren't vibing. And when I find myself as the host, I got to go into this room and talk to them for a few minutes, to go to the other room and talk to the other group and entertain them, make sure they're good, and then go to another room, talk to them.
That's one thing I'm
It gets
glad about my
exhausting.
friends.
It gets exhausting after a while.
Mm-hmm. That's one thing about my circle. I'm glad there might be a different thing. Like one's running in sports, one is in the comic books, one is in NASCAR. They all kick it together. You know what I'm saying? And you've been around my friends, Paul. King.
But again, because I've been around your type of people all my life.
Yeah, but
I'm saying, but that's the way I'm able to do it because again, I know King, I know Coach, I know Eric, like I said, I'm in because I've had these things, so I have no problem. In fact, I'm almost like I'm definitely not a xenophobe, I'm almost xenophilic. In other words, I am drawn to meeting other people. I am culturally curious. If I see somebody who's different, I'm the one that will go over and introduce myself and say, hi, my name is Paul, what's your name? And get to know them and want to understand them. I'm the guy who does that because I've always done that. But some people, it's like you see something strange or you see someone different, you'll just stay to yourself. You don't make yourself available to people. And again, that's sometimes what happens when your friendship circle is so homogeneous that you only mess with certain people. And so if like I said, if all your friends are from the hood, just as an example, or from the prep, or from the fraternity, or for whatever, a lot of those people have a hard time when they gotta be. If all your friends are of a certain ethnicity, you may have some problems when someone of another ethnicity or race comes into the room. Me, that's never been a problem. And it's like I said, it's never been a problem for my daughters either because they're kind of eclectic like that. They got friends from every ethnicity you can think of. And it's never been a thing. They're proud of being black. They know who they are. But they can go into different rooms and be able to interact with other people because they're just them. But I know a lot of black people who white person comes in the room and gets uncomfortable. A room full of white people, a black person comes in, and because I've been there. There's companies that I work for where I'm the only black person in the company. And they're like, they don't know how to, but so I have to sometimes be that bridge. I have to say, hello, my name is Paul. How are you? Like, just, so sometimes you do that code switch because, sometimes you have to make people comfortable because they've never had that kind of interaction. There's not too many brothers in IT spaces. So naturally, I'm going to be, when they see me for the first time, there's that initial thought. And then, but once they start talking to me and say, oh, he's articulate. Oh, he's this, he's that, or whatever. Oh, he's cool. But now I may get with the brothers and, we code switch there also. And we got a way of talking. We got the barbershop kind of environment. And I know what that is. So again, so we're always, so again, I'm very comfortable in even foreign environments. And so again, my friendship circles can get very sort of eclectic. It can get very diverse, but again, trying to pull everybody together, not easy. But certainly, I'm glad, Coach. Sorry for the, I guess some of the confusion. That was the sports show that we decided to push back another week because guys were busy. So yeah, but this show was still going on. But I definitely wanted you on, and I wanted to kind of have more of a conversation regarding a show we did a couple weeks ago where you talked about how you have friends from back in the day, that friends you've known for a long time, a major portion of your life. Some guys have done time, but they've been able to turn their lives around and whatnot. But I know that there's certain people who would have said, well, why are you hanging out with them though? Because they got a record, or because they went this way and you decided to go another way. People say you need to cut those people out your life, but you've been able to maintain these friendships, even though the people have gone off and done other things. So I wanted to kind of get more of your background, the friends that you, these lifelong friends that you that you had, how were you able to sort of maintain and keep those friendships even when someone had to go off and do time or whatever, and what are your parameters, what are your rules, I guess, when it comes to friends in your life, who to keep, because again, a lot of people may look at that and say, oh well, coach, where he's at, he's you know spectacle guy, military, all that kind of stuff. And some people may say you need to cut, because that's another thing I've been hearing as of late. So you need to cut people out from you, just cut away people. You didn't. So I wanted to get a little bit more from your perspective. How did you approach that, and what advice you would give in terms of when it comes to friendships? How do you form friendships? How do keep them? And what are the things that govern the way you and your boys, how you guys were able to keep these friendships going, even when someone may have had to go away for some time or whatever? So I just want to have more of a get some more of your perspective on how you were able to manage that, because I know a lot of people who don't manage that well, or that those people would just be automatically cut off. So I just want to kind of get your perspective on that.
No, what's up, Peter, man? Can y'all hear me good? It seems like I got a
Perfect.
little
You
delay,
good, bro?
right?
Now you good.
What's up, man? That hair looking good, man. I like that little G.I. Joe look on your hair, man. Then you, Peter, yeah, that's the first G.I. Joe had that look you got. Go look him up, man. He had that same look, man.
I'm actually
They all
looking
had
for a little
beards back
trim
then.
up.
Yep.
So,
They all had beards, I
like,
remember.
yeah, Paul's getting a little jealous of the nice trim.
Okay. No, you looking good, man, for sure. I mean, I was listening in when you was talking about compartmentalizing people and friends. I've always been able to do that because just growing up in the house with sisters, and I had a brother. We 2 years apart, but we were totally different in our friendship. Me and my brother didn't hang out when we were outside.
Mm-hmm.
We probably played on the basketball court together, but our friends were totally different. And me playing sports and basketball, I had friends that knew I played both sports. I had friends that knew I only played football, friends that knew I only played basketball. And I'm just thinking, looking down, as I went through my list, I have friends that I've been friends with since elementary. One of my best friends I met in college, and just friends along the way that I've worked with. And one of the biggest things I think always helped me when I had friends that knew each other, if they had any type of quarrels or disagreements, that I sort of stay neutral in it. I didn't get involved. I didn't choose a side. I didn't do anything like that. And being able to compartmentalize friends like that has always helped me. And if I was going to have anything for myself and I was going to invite people from all of those sectors, once we're there, I sort of do it like they do on TV. I get up a little high place and say, hey, I want to thank everybody for coming out, family, friends. But however, some of y'all don't know each other. So I will go around and at least introduce y'all. Now, where y'all go from there is something different.
Mm-hmm.
But in the first time I would, like, because I didn't really start having birthdays or anything till I was older. I didn't have birthday parties growing up.
Mm-hmm.
My birthday's in February. I didn't like the party. I just give me a gift, send me on my way. I was happy.
Mm-hmm.
But just growing up, my friends, man, it was sort of easy for me. But if I came across a person who wasn't rocking with my type of, I guess, lifestyle growing up, that didn't play sports like basketball in the summer.
Right. I was about to ask you. So did those early friendships, did most of them come about because of sports?
No,
Okay.
no, not. A lot of them just came from people I saw in the neighborhood.
Okay.
Maybe playing some
So
pickup basketball. We grew on 2 blocks apart.
right. So
We
proximity.
yeah,
Right.
we went to the same park and sort of gathered in that capacity. And
Mhm.
even with that, I still didn't. It was one friend from sixth grade. We sort of clung together throughout high school. But then when we graduated, he went on to his, he went to the military. I went to college and then on to the military. And we still have been able to reconnect a few times even since that time.
Right.
He came and visited in the last summer, and I went to hang out with him and his family. They had a nice little spot. And then there's friends when I was like that I still have that when I was in the military and living in Chicago, I would come home and we would hang out. And I couldn't see everybody. I had to see you this visit, had to see this friend the next visit, and some friends we make like a lot of my long term friends, we don't talk as often, but when we do, it's like we seem to catch right back up where we
Exactly.
left
Exactly.
off, and it
And
wasn't
I
so.
think that's a myth sometimes. Like people think your friends, okay, you got to talk all the time or see each other. I know like best friend, I mean, ride or die folks. You may talk maybe a couple times a year or may even see that person like once a year.
Hmm.
Maybe they might be in another country. Like in the military, your friend might be in Germany. You know what I mean, on a base in Germany somewhere. So again, so that the opportunities to connect are infrequent, especially back in the day. This is before social media, before email and texting and all that. I'm saying back in the day when they came in town or whatever for that week or something like that. Yeah, y'all hung out, y'all did your thing, and then they left. But it's like the relationship wasn't based on the frequency of your interaction. Whereas you got some relationships, it's solely based on the interaction. And when you stop interacting, then the relationship just kind of fades. So it's almost like it wasn't about you guys. I don't know if you guys necessarily built a relationship, a connection. It was all about the activity. So again, you might have been in basketball league with somebody, and you went there, you played ball, rec ball, or whatever, and then afterwards, y'all may even go out, grab a beer or something, or a drink, or just hung out and whatnot, and catch up. Y'all see you guys next week or whatever it was. But then life got in the way, and you had to start doing stuff, and you got busy with your family, they got busy with yours, and you stopped talking. But when y'all were together in that environment, it was like, yeah, man, boom, boom, boom. And you guys just kept,
So,
interacting.
Paul,
But yeah,
let me add a little bit to that. My best friend in Greece, George, I don't get to see him that often. I don't even get a chance to talk to him often. But when we do talk, is maybe once, maybe twice a year if I'm lucky.
right,
I'm stretching it too. It's like that we never miss a beat. We're talking about things like it happened in our past, present, future. Like the last time I spoke to him, we were joking around. Like, dude, remember when we got in a fight? Like, yeah, I ripped his hair out by accident.
hmm
And like we're joking around, and his hair never grew back correctly. Actually, that's kind of funny.
hmm
But what I agree 100% what you're saying. You don't need to talk to somebody every single day to call him your friend. You can talk once in a blue. I have friends I talk once in a blue moon. My buddy
hmm
Roy, great example. I haven't spoken to him in a while, and it was his birthday. I reached out to him, like he was joking. Oh, I'm 54. I'm old. Like, yeah, you're gonna get puree soon. Don't worry, buddy. So, good friends, you don't need to talk every single day. That is a myth.
right, right. But again, that's the problem. So it's like if a person, if you set that expectation, and again that person doesn't meet that expectation, well now you're upset about it. And I think a lot of it too is again, if your friendship circle is too small, then I think it hurts a bit more when that person is not available. When you're because we all get those times when you just want to be with your boys. You just want the companionship. You want especially if you're not married, you have your wife, your kids, whatever. You just especially if you're single, you just want to be around your boys.
See,
And
here's
what if
my thing, Paul.
but what if those guys aren't available? Then yet now you feel in a certain way. Now you're feeling lonely because you don't have access to them. But again, they might be doing something. It's not that they don't care about you. It's just like I said earlier, they have other priorities. So if you put all your eggs, talk about putting all your eggs in one basket, you're putting all your eggs into these one, two, maybe three people to be your source for companionship or entertainment or whatever it is. I think it then makes it hard then for you because you haven't really worked on trying to develop other associations or friendships in other places.
So here's my thing, Paul, and I think I told you this before. My friends, 99.9% of my friends don't live in this state.
Sparta, turn your mic up.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So most of my friends, 99% of my friends don't live in the state. My closest friend is probably you, Paul, because you're about an hour and change from me.
Mhm.
My other close friend is in New York City. He's about close to almost 2 hours. So either way I need to go, I have to drive some kind of distance to see my friends. So
Mhm.
I'm used to be flying solo and alone. And you're right. It does get lonely at times. Sometimes I want to have a beer with my friends. Like my only other person I can say, and he's always busy, is my buddy who DJs I talk to about. That's the only other person, and he has his life, he has his business, so I can't tell him, "Yo, drop what you're doing and hang out," because he has his shit. But the friends who are free are far away. King, CQ, my buddy Dimitri, yourself, and so on. And I get that, and it does get lonely. You're 100% right. I like to have friends close enough to say, "Hey, let's get a beer, or let's shoot some pool, or let's go
Let's
watch
go
a
to a
movie,
movie. Let's yeah. I
play
mean,
video games, or
yeah,
whatever the case is." You know what I'm saying? Like whatever. Just or just hang out and bullshit. Nothing. You don't have to do anything. Let's order some pizza and just bullshit about whatever. It does
Mhm.
get lonely at times.
Yeah,
I'll be honest with you.
yeah. Coach, how about you? Like in terms of your need, I know you're a very happily married man, so I get it. You want to spend as much time around the missus as possible. But what about you? What is your need or your quotient for friendship interaction? Either talking in person or getting together. How does that dynamic work with you, especially for some of the guys you've known for a lot of years? What's that dynamic look like for you?
I mean, it's evolved over the years. I can just go back to being a kid, man. I wanted to be outside with the other kids. I wanted to, I was all for that. That's why I played sports in a sense. I like that camaraderie with guys, boys, And as I got older, but again, going back to earlier, real quick, just that's how I was able to compartmentalize friends, and I had white friends, from young years. I had white friends as teenager because we was in that proximity. When I went off to college, it was more
Yep.
sticking with the same, more African American correlated group because you go to a college of 300 blacks, we all we got. But I
Yeah.
still was able to accumulate relationships with other races of people. I've built relationships with Middle Easterners, and
Yep.
I never looked at a person's color. I always was attached to the character in a sense.
Right.
I've always been a part of that, and it was always been easy for me to communicate and build relationships and go out to lunch with different, women, men, LGBTQ, especially in working in that field, you run across a variety of cultures, variety of type of people.
Right.
But just it's always been unique for me. Even now, I'm not. I can call you during the halftime of the game, and we talk for 10 minutes, and I never had that need to go hang out with the boys since I would say probably age 35. I didn't have that urge. I can see if I'm out, I, I might see you, and we might gather that bond right there and sort of
Yeah. You run some to the
But
mall or whatever, and right, you
I didn't
talking
need to
for
call you and say, "Hey,
yeah,
man, I'm
exactly.
going out." As I got older, because before I got married, I was single, and I could go out. I prefer to go out by myself. During that time I was dating, I preferred to go out by myself because I didn't want to have. I used to always think that I don't want to have to wait for somebody else is ready to leave where I'm at. I can leave on my own. I'm gonna drive myself there, and as now I don't have that need at all. I prefer to be with my wife and just go
Yeah.
out within the community. Just go to the community outside of just specific people that I know and grew up with. But I
Hmm.
like to continue to always be in connection with people.
Right.
I talk to people in supermarket. Old ladies talk to me. Old men talk to me. So, you know what I'm saying? So, and I don't feel a need to sort of, hey, shun away. But again, I guess that comes with generations, having been taught in socialization and how to communicate with different people across, what I'm saying, I guess across the globe to me.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to kind of talk a little bit more on this idea of compartmentalization, or more so the types of friends that one um, may have or should have at some point. So again, I kind of, like I said, I didn't put together a ton of slides tonight, but I did want to, just kind of have as a level set again. So again, friendships can happen across different, um, you know, activities. Like say you might meet your friend on the basketball court. You just went there and y'all just became a friendship, or as kids, or but even as adults. Now, one question I have that I asked Peter before you got on, Coach, was the idea of friendships over 30. Because I was listening to a show the other night, and they were talking about it's harder to make friends after age 30. Do you agree or disagree with that premise, and why?
okay, can y'all still hear me pretty good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
I think it comes down to the individual's choice, right? Because you get sort of start getting set in your ways, and you want to have a routine and do things a certain way. And and again, for me, I could balance them. I could balance it all. I never People didn't overwhelm me. I could balance friendships and meeting people, and keep everybody compartmentalized in a sense. Because not
Mhm.
everybody, you know, although we're talking about friends, not everybody is a friend. That's why I could speak to the guys who may have had a different life choice than mine. If I see them, they know me, they recognize me, they respect me, they honor me. So it ain't like we gonna go hang out and have a beer. We may
Mhm.
just in that moment have those communications.
Right, and
And,
that's why I wanted to get to
but
when you had mentioned it. But again, like I said, the friend who again was incarcerated for a while, what have you,
yes,
you may not necessarily want to hang out or be in certain spaces with them, but you still have this attachment to them, but it's just
yes,
different from other friendships that you may have.
yeah,
And I think that's really how friendships work. I think if it's broad enough, then I think you're not going to be dependent upon this one person, or make the mistake of not recognizing borders and boundaries that you need to govern. So here's what I'm talking about when it comes to the types of friends, right? So like these are, now again, a lot of people expect one person to be all these things for you. Just like even in marriage, you expect that one person to be all these things for you. Now again, if you can get this in a marriage or whatever, then great. But for a lot of people, if they're honest, they can't be all these things. So again, friendship type one, you need the confidence, someone who you can tell anything to and provide emotional safety. Pour your soul out to them. And again, what you guys say, it stays with you. It goes to the grave, right? But again, are you going to tell everybody that? I don't think so. Then there's the supporter, the loyal friend who offers help and acts as a nurturing presence. Again, I talked about this before, Coach. I used to do these boxing parties, pay per view. You order the pay per view, you get a bunch of guys who come over, right? And at the end of the night, everyone's like, "Oh, great fight," or whatever, dabbing everybody on the way out. Maybe one or two dudes who stays back and says, "Hey, you need help clean it up." You know what I'm saying? That's not everyone, but I'm not upset that everybody didn't stay to offer the help. I just know that, I can count on out of a group of 10, maybe 2 guys who going to be in that support role. Now, one of those guys who's not going to be there but is important is, again, the laugh out loud guy. Someone who boosts. You got the jokester. You got the guy who he tells great stories. He be having everybody in the room on the floor. You need that. Now, is he going to be the loyal dude? Is he going to be the guy who is going to be the confidant or the supporter? Maybe not. But again, if it's quiet in the room, or you need to liven this place up because everyone's too serious or whatever, when this guy comes over, it changes the whole mood of the room. Then you get, again, the hide a body friend. Again, a deeply trusted friend in crisis is very similar to the confidant. The up for anything friend, explore, travel, try new things. Again, some guys, again, like you said, especially older guys get set in their ways or whatever. But you can call me, hey, man, I'm thinking about doing this, man. When you come with me, say, yeah, I'll come. And then you got the honest friend, someone who tells you the truth even when it's difficult, someone who will keep it 100 with you. Again, especially these days, especially with younger people, this is the friend that is lacking in what I'm seeing in a lot of Gen Zers and younger. Because everybody just wants someone who is going to agree with them all the time. And be like, yeah, girl, get it, girl. Yeah, oh, you right. Yeah, he want none. Yeah. And just buy into your feelings. But who's going to be able to, what one of your friends can step up to you and be like, nah, bro, you out of pocket. And check you. A lot of people are missing these type of friendships, or they expect one person to have all these qualities. And it's not fair to them, and it's not fair to you. So again, developing a robust. Now, again, a comment that Michelle did make the other night is, she says she knows people where all they want to talk about is back in the day. Like, you get around them, all they want to talk about is yesterday. They don't want to talk about today. They don't want to talk about the future. They talk about back in the day. And I kind of made the comment, I have some back in the day friends. Because what those back in the day friends reminded, because I didn't have the greatest childhood growing up. There was a lot of dark times and moments and stresses and whatnot. But those back in the day friends, they're the ones who, when I was going through stuff, those were the times and the moments that helped me get through a lot of that. So you got friends who, when you get together, all you guys do is reminisce about back in the day. And I think you need those guys also. Yeah, they're not future. They might be living a bit in the past or whatever, or back to the 80s or whatever, and it's good to talk nostalgia stuff. That's fine too. I appreciate, because what it also does, it then reminds me of how far I've come since then. Now, again, those type of friends you might not be able to talk about your future plans with, because they kind of stuck in time. But they do remind me of I guess a time again where things weren't right, but nevertheless, I like going back there and talk about stuff we used to do back in the day, back in the 70s and the 80s, and the movies that we watched, or the things we were into or whatnot. You need those back in the day people also. But when any one of these persons becomes too dominant, then I think that creates an imbalance. And then you start, developing these dependencies. That, again, that's not fair. And I know, Pete, you talked about talk about, oh, well, I'll take a bullet for you. If you were married to have kids, I'd probably slap you if you said that to me.
Been slapped before. It won't be the first time.
Because I'm like, look, nah, bro, you don't owe me that. Your priority is your wife and your kids. The guy talk about, oh, I'll take a bullet for you, man. Nah, no. You have other priorities, bro. And that's why I said, and I appreciate you said that about me, but again, I don't know if I can give you that.
Hell no.
But see, but this is the problem with friendships a lot of times is there's this expectation. Oh, you do this for me, I do this for you. Oh, you won't take a bullet for me, but I'll take a bullet for you. But it should come to a point where you shouldn't even be asking that of anybody. Like it's like if you guys were boys when you were single and y'all did everything. If one guy gets married, you got to understand they're not. You guys aren't hanging out anymore. But you should, if you're a true friend of that person, you understand that's a normal part of life. That person may all be your friend, like you said earlier. The guy who you talk, the friend you talk to once a year or twice a year. You go to that level. You're still friends. You still love them,
Oh, absolutely.
but you understand as the friend who's now on the outside. You kind of did get kicked to the curb. You know what I'm saying? He chose her over you. I get that. But at the same time, you as a true friend, you got to be willing to let them go. It's like, nah, it's weird because you had my daughter's friend. She was at a wedding last summer,
I remember this.
and the friend was like, oh yeah, when I'm married, yeah, we still gonna hang out and go to place together. I was telling my daughter is like, and she kind of knew, but I kind of enforced it. It's like, girl, she's like, girl, you better hang out with your husband. What you talking about trying to go? You still trying to go on girls trips with me? When I'm single and whatnot, you got a husband. You better go cleave with your husband. You talking about girl? Oh yeah, yeah. When we get married, that things aren't going to change, and you're going to be still trying to do girls trips and stuff. It's like, girl, you please. So I'm saying, so that kind of evolution of the relationships needs to take place. Doesn't mean that each one of these persons is not an essential part of your life. But people spend too few time developing. So again, for young people, you need these type of persons in your life. Even if you're over 30, if someone's missing here, and I think it's kind of sad. You're 30, 35 years old, you don't have a confidant in your life. I think that's sad. Or the hotter body type of guy, person. I think that's sad if you haven't cultivated that kind of relationship.
But brother Bennett, okay, they don't have it, but then what could be a way? Because we already see the state of just society. A lot of single people don't even have those social skills to develop friends like that because a part of life is meeting new people throughout your life, right? And most people
Well,
seem to
it's
be
well,
stuck.
it should be.
I
I
mean, but yeah, what it should be, but I'm just speaking to the reality. So from the reality, and I would think, as far as solutions, what do you think, and Peter, you also, what do you think people could do to sort of get away from that mindset? Because, we talk about growth mindset. A lot of people are sort of stagnant in their mindset based off things that may have happened previous years. So it puts them, just in my experience in working with people from a social level, a lot of people may they have friends and those friends let them down at some point, right? And they would sort of use that as I guess, a scapegoat excuse or
Yep.
something to prevent them from just, continuing to understand that, friendship sometimes is necessary. But even having that, I guess, what did you say? That in finding someone else they can confide in.
Yeah.
A lot of people, are very skeptical of that because a lot of, just in the reality, people think that most people will hurt them anyway.
Yeah. But like anything else, they said no risk it, no biscuit, right?
Hmm.
The idea is, I mean, again, everything's a risk. We how much we've talked in this YouTube space about dating. Dating is a risk. Like everyone's talking about, you know, there's no good women out there, there's no good men out there. How many if you count it up, how many dates have you been on? Now, coach, you remember back in the day You would go on 2 or 3 dates a
A week.
week
Yeah, I did that. I saw Batman three
with a
times.
different girl
I saw
until
Batman
you
three
found one
times
you
when
could.
it first came out in a week.
Yeah. And I'm saying, but so I mean, these guys go on 1 date, 2 dates, whatever, and then they want to just denigrate like an entire sex of people. So again, you gotta have those people. You tried it once or whatever up, because again, but again, relationships is a risk, dating is a risk, friendship is a risk. Again, what I would say is, again, definitely put yourself in different circles to meet these different types of people, but at the same time, manage your expectations. If you meet someone after a few days or whatever, or weeks or whatever, and he's automatically a confidant, I'm like, whoa, pull that back. They haven't earned that yet. Just like, again, I tell young men, don't be doing husband stuff for someone who's not your wife yet, or hasn't demonstrated that they're wifey material yet. And I tell my daughters the same thing. Don't be doing wifey stuff for a guy who's not trying to make you his wife. If he's not husband material. But we get all our emotions into it and whatnot, and because you had a good time, I'm glad you had a good time. But then you start attaching all these feelings and start moving in ways that, again, that person at the end of the day hasn't earned. Trust is earned. All of these things, all of these different types of friendships require trust, and trust is built over time. But because that person made you feel good for a night or two, and you just think, oh, well, look, this is my new bestie. And I just think that, again, for so young people, so again, how to avoid it. First of all, again, start this practice early. Don't just hang with the one crowd, even though there's social pressure for you to hang out with a certain crowds and cliques. That stuff starts very early. Happens in you would know more than I would, coach, probably elementary school, or at least grammar school, middle school. Cliques can happen very quickly. But again, get around all different types of people. Now, again, I love black people. I love my brothers. I love the barbershop. I love black culture. I love my people. I love black church. I love all. That's that birthed me. You know what I mean? So I'm good with that. And the more I learn about that, it's interesting. The more I learned about myself, the more when I got in college, when I learned Africana studies and history and things like that, understanding more about my past, my history, and my people, the easier I was around other people. Because I could be myself. I don't switch. I don't become Greek when I'm around Greek people. I'm a brother, but I can look at you, and that's why I always say, Pete, that I don't believe in color blindness. I recognize, because I see colors. I see everything, and every color. It's like you go to a rose garden, or you go to a botanical garden, and you see all that different types of flora there. It's beautiful, and when it's all put together, it's beautiful. But what if everything was one color? I think it would be boring. So again, get around different types of social circles, ethnic, social, socioeconomic. Because I know a lot of older people, and this is, I think, a parent's fault. A lot of times, because you're in a social economic class, you just want to hang out with all the people from similar socioeconomic classes. If you're upperly mobile black person, you think, okay, well, we got to join Jack and Jill, and then just hang out with those people. Now, I got people I got people at the poverty line who I'm good with. I'm a people who are very well off. And for my wife and I, we're not jealous or envious or anything of anybody. I'm glad you got it like that. But I wouldn't trade what I have. There's people who make more money than me. There's people who make less than me. By the percentages, I make more than most people. By the percentages. But that's never been a boundary or border to me being able to relate or have an interaction with you or see you as a person. So I think you got to start that process early. Now, if you are older, like I said, 30, 35, and you haven't done this yet, again, no risk it, no biscuit. If you're not willing to open up, I wouldn't know coach or Pete. And coach, we haven't met in like broke bread together, but I pray that that will happen in the future.
for sure.
Me and Pete have.
We're going all. I'm gonna meet with all y'all.
Yeah.
We good. We will meet. I promise you. One way
But
or
I'm
shape,
just but
way
I'm
or
just
form.
saying, but you got it, your hand your you have to be open. That hand has to be open. Hey, what's your name? My name is this. And for a lot of us, we met through social media. A lot of it we met through YouTube, through Black Man Unfiltered or whatever the social media. When we were all on lockdown, a lot of us met and had interaction through there. Just connected with Anton. We've been texting back and forth or whatever. Anton, you're in Jersey. We need to hook up soon.
Yeah, I actually have done the same thing. All
And you
three of us
gotta and you
get
gotta
together and
break
break
that
bread.
bread. You gotta break, so yeah, so the breaking of bread with people, you have to be open to doing that. I've met our pain, me and our pain. We broke bread. We had lunch together. Like I said, me and our pain are as different as you can get in terms of political views or a lot of different views we don't share. But I'll still say, hey man, you want to get together? Let's have some lunch or let's talk. Absolutely. And again, you cannot just be around people who are always into what you're into. Get around some people that you can learn something new from, new hobbies, new interests, new restaurants. Maybe there's different foods that they like. Now, again, you may or may not like it. Like Indian food, I'm kind of, I got a lot of my friends who are Asian Indian. I rock with some stuff, but not all of it. I like my food kind of mild. So again, mild dishes, yeah, I can't do with the super hot stuff. I'm not also a fan of a lot of their Indian sweets. I'm not a fan of them.
I'm not a fan of
But
curry.
we can bond enough. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan either, but I can bond enough. We can find certain things that I can. Okay, you're gonna have some tandoori chicken and some some goat and lamb, whatever. I can get with that. I can go to an Indian. I've gone to Indian restaurants. I've gone to Thai restaurants. I've gone to Brazilian restaurants. I've gone to Greek restaurant. I'm not gonna necessarily like everything, but again, I can find something I can rock with. But you have to be open to doing that at any age. It might be easier when you're younger because you don't have all those biases. And like you said earlier, coach, you don't have those habits. But I think these days, everybody's getting so tribal. You want to be around people who have the same the identical, not even the same, but the identical political philosophy that you have, the identical religious belief that you have, the identical ethnic or culture that you have, and nobody is in a position where they can check you. Again, the honest friend, like I said, Gen Zers, you're hurting yourselves. Who is checking you guys? And I've seen even my own daughters. I'll check them and they'll go running to my friends. Yeah, my daddy said this or that or whatever, but that should be coming from your friends. I shouldn't have to
Oh,
tell
if
you
I
that.
may, for a second, cut you off.
Yeah.
So, my personal opinion, again, I'm talking a little bit of my ass. The reason most people don't gravitate to different cultures, friends, let's say black people, Spanish people, Indian, Asian, and different religions, Muslim, Hindu, and so on, is because of lack of respect for other people's beliefs and backgrounds.
Mhm.
I have Indian friends, I have Muslim friends. Do I agree with everything they say? Absolutely not. And they know I don't agree with it, but I will respect what they believe. Like, for example, me and you have argued about things in the past, and we still were friends and respect each other's opinion. Me and Coach are probably going to argue one day. I have better beer than he does. We all both know that. So we're going to argue. I know that's a really bad example, but we can argue about like long as you can argue with respectfully and not being like in people's face about to go put hands on each other, then you can be friends with anybody. But that's where we lost it now. The respect is not there anymore. First argument, you want to put hands on somebody, and I don't think it's wrong.
Yeah.
If you agree, please. If you disagree, please.
Yeah, no. But it's again, it's part of that tribalism, right?
Yeah.
That tribalism and everybody again, it's us versus them. And if you're on this side of it, or even if you step out for a minute, like in some spaces, I lost my ability because I always thought that I was kind of like the balance, right? Like a balanced perspective. And I realized in some of these rooms, in some of these spaces, they don't want balance anymore. It's like you either on this side or another. If you say, look, well, I could kind of understand, Coach, you said earlier, like you would hang out with people, LGBTQ or whatever. It's like, nah, you either with them or you with us. I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't go to the nth degree with how you guys are trying to formulate this. But again, you have people who are trying to formulate almost like a clannish mob kind of mentality when it comes to these absolutes. It happens in religion a lot. And I'm seeing it happen, especially, like I said, with evangelical Christianity in this country. It's like, look, if I don't believe that the earth is created 5,000 years ago, or that the earth is created in 7 little days or something, or if I don't believe in evolution or something, then I'm not a Christian with it. I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't think the Bible speaks to any of that. All I know is God did it. How he did it, that's what the science, and that's what you can debate that. But everyone's trying to make you be in this box. And I just refuse to be that. Like the thing that's evolving is me. And I like me a lot. Now, I didn't like myself years ago because I was the outcast, that, I kind of wanted to be in some of those rooms. And they were saying, no, you're not cool enough. You're not hip enough. You're not whatever. But now I like being me. Now I may come into your room. We can talk for a few minutes. I'll leave your room. I'll go into another room. I'm not intimidated by you or your classes or what you may think is your elite and keeping these people over here and all that. I'm not swayed by that. And the sad thing about it is a lot of the people who are in these rooms now, they used to be the outcasts back in the day. I remember hearing this one lady talk. She was talking about how she keeps her kids. She only allows certain types of kids to interact with her kids because she don't want the bad habits of other kids infecting her kids. But she talked about her background, though. She was one of those kids.
Mm-hmm.
Her mom and dad, she was but single mom and poor and stuff. And now she got a little money. And now she got a little, something going on. It's like, ooh, I got to keep my kid. I got to protect my kids and put them in this protected place. And Coach, you talked about the neighborhood. There's no more neighborhoods. The suburbs was the worst thing that happened to community. Because again, especially I go to these wealthy suburbs, like, the $1 million houses or whatnot. Nobody knows each other. Those kids aren't hanging out. They build little mini amusement parks to themselves, especially, and this all happened in the 90s. People moved to the suburbs. You built your in-ground swimming pool. You got your slide set, your playground set. You built everything in the house. Me and Coach growing up, we went to the park or the community pool. But then everybody said, oh, well, you want to make this little oasis, a little music park to yourself and keep your kids and have this controlled environment rather than kids run around. You used to be able to run backyards didn't have fences on them unless you had a mean dog. You'd run through people's backyard. In fact, you made the whole backyard, 3-4 houses lined up. That whole area was the football field. Right? And we all played football, running back and forth to other people's properties or whatever. Now you even step foot on someone's property, it's like
95% agrees with you. 5% doesn't. I'm gonna tell you why. I know people who live in suburbs. CQ, I'll use his example and some other friends of mine. They hang out all the neighbors, their friend, they know each other. That's a rare case. Even
Yeah.
in my development, I know maybe 3 or 4 of my neighbors. I know most of them, they wave to me, but I don't hang out with them. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
But everywhere else you live, when I lived in Mount Pocono, I knew my cross neighbor, and that's it. And that's why I say 95% of me agrees with you. You're 100% right.
Hmm.
5%, the rare case of 5%. I say
Yeah.
CQ knows all his neighbors. He's cool with them. They come over, have barbecue with him.
Right. But we can't make the exception the rule, though. I mean, if you're talking 5%, I mean, I don't even know if that's even worth mentioning. Simply for the fact that, yeah, and there's nothing that's absolute. Like I'm talking in generalities, for the most part. Nothing's gonna. There's always going to be exceptions to everything. But I'm saying generally what I'm seeing, especially with again young people, Gen Zers, and even some younger millennials.
But Brother Bennett, do you
Yeah.
think, just based off everything you explained, a lot of that comes from the socialization of the parents of today? We were Gen X, and a lot of us sort of stirred away from the way we were raised, in a sense, and we sort of softened up the cushion for a lot of our children.
Hmm.
And now you see the results of that today, because, like you said, back when we was young, you might have been, if you look at distance today, you probably was a mile away from home, and you socialized with other kids that just because they went to school with you, and like you said, your parents didn't even know half the time where you, especially once you got a bicycle. I
Hmm.
don't know how you. Once I got a bicycle, it wasn't nowhere I wasn't gonna go.
Yeah.
Once I got a
But how
tennis,
many? But how many times today do you see kids? I'm talking about 8, 10, 12 kids, 8 to 12-year-olds on their BMX bikes rolling through the neighborhood. When's the
I
last
mean,
time you saw that?
again, it depends on the location. I would say actually seen it. It's been about 3 or 4 years ago.
But it's rare. I'm just saying you don't see it
Yeah,
as
yeah,
much.
you don't see it as. But again,
Also, Paul, in
I'm
that comment, like parents are afraid now these days for
yeah,
every little
Yeah.
thing.
Well, then and that's coach's point, right?
yeah, a lot
Again,
of parents sort of.
we're responsible to some degree for a lot of this. Now, again, my kids, again, it's never been a socioeconomic thing with them. Again, they got friends who are, you know, uh, dysfunctional homes, and then they got friends who are, kind of come from high society. And sometimes those homes are dysfunctional too, but sometimes money you can cover it up a little bit. It looks a little nicer when you can cover it up a little bit. But I'm just saying, but it doesn't matter. It's like my daughters, if they rock with you, they rock with you, you know. And it's not a like I said, so we don't have. I mean, like I said, they're very proud of being black. I mean, they're and we made sure that they be proud of being black, be proud of your history. It's Black History Month. Be proud of in Black history is American history. So I'm saying all of that. I mean, don't run away from that. Trying to be friends with people. Be your authentic self. And it's interesting for them because the biggest surprise was, you know, not all black people vibe one
Or
another.
where they
When
be.
my
Yeah.
daughter, when my daughters went to college, you have a lot more second generation African kids, very different from African American kids.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting. A lot of my daughters, they would oftentimes get along better with the white American
Hmm.
kids than the second generation, even though they were born and raised in America. They're still very tied to their Nigerian, Ghanaian, Sierra Leone culture.
But
And they felt a little outcast because of that. And that was a shock because back me and Coach's time when we were in college, black was black. It didn't matter what you're Jamaican, African, Native, it didn't matter. We were just, we just had that mentality that black was black. Now it's so nuanced that I
brother,
could say, "What's up, brother?" to a Nigerian, and he's like, you're not my brother."
yeah, but again, Benny, we learned those things by being outside. Regardless of what race somebody was, if they came to the neighborhood, they were outside with everybody. The kids were outside. Today,
Hmm.
we stifle the kids' growth in that
Oh, 100
social.
percent. I
You know, but again, we
100%.
instill a lot of our fears because Africans today they delineate themselves, right? Because they want you to know that they don't want to be black, identified as black. They
Correct.
want to be identified as a, you know,
Just
I ain't gonna say,
whatever their country, the country that they
but
came
most of them
from
don't
was.
identify with their country. They want to identify as being American.
Mm.
Around white folk, they gonna act white. They ain't gonna be black at all. Just be real. They gonna be as white as they can be. But when it comes, so but again, that's the unfortunate thing about today
Yeah.
is that this modernization of America has sort of put the future in a position where, just like you said, ain't gonna be no neighbors helping neighbors. Ain't gonna be no people. A lot of people are sort of getting away from, the tradition of man, woman, child building family. They're gonna try to live their life as this independent, keep everybody at
Hmm.
a distance lifestyle, and in the
Yeah.
long run, that'll that'll hurt even more. That
Mm.
especially like I got a young son too, so I'm talking to him like, man, at some point, you think about finding your wife. He like, well, I'm good with that, but there's certain expectations, just like you have, she must have too. Because I tell him, if you go into certain situations, you could find yourself paying for it for most of your adulthood. So again, I think it comes down to the parent. The fact that here we are now, nobody goes outside. The kids are a lot more overweight from earlier. Their motor skills are delayed. Their analytical skills are delayed. They're struggling to read uh, basic information. They struggle with math and basic, algebra. And but kids will be kids if allowed that space. It's the adult who sort of, oh, I'm afraid of this, and a lot of that is perpetuated within the media, within being in America.
Well,
So,
that, and I also think that I do think that some people go through I guess, a political um, evolution as they get older. Like it's like when you're young, high school, college, or whatever, you don't have anything to protect. You know what I mean? But when you start making some money, when you buy a house, I think people just naturally get a little bit more conservative. You know what I mean? Because now you got something to lose. When we were in college, we didn't have nothing to lose. We were trying to get into a certain economic environment, so we didn't have two nickels to rub together. So it was like, again, very liberal, so to speak. But when you have something that you're trying to hold on to, I think that, so we talk about those parents again. Those parents were those outcasts or liberal kids or whatever back in the day. But something changes when you have a family. Like even guys, like there's guys who, when I was single, like I would hang out with, that there's no way I wouldn't even invite them to my house now, because I got daughters. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, there's guys at the barbershop. I don't that we can have that interaction. I don't know if I want you in my house though, especially when my daughters were teenagers and whatnot. It's like, nah, bro. Because and we know guys like that. They'll say anything. They see a girl, they just say, "Oh my god, oh my god, look at her," and all kinds of cat calls and stuff like that. It's like, yo, bro, hold on, nah, it's my daughters, bro. Oh, my bad, but okay, but that's my daughters. You know what I'm saying? So again, we in the shop, if it's someone else outside your home or whatever, it doesn't bother you as much. But then when it comes to you and your clan, and again, the people who you have uh uh um protection over, then again your mindset changes a little bit. So that's why, like I said, I can understand why parents who might have been thinking one way are part of that, now they work their way into another room, and now they feel they got to close the door. It's not, I don't agree with it, but again, at least I can understand it, that certain people evolve again in certain ways.
Mhm.
And again, but that's even when friendships. That's why friendships, I think, change over the years. Pete, you talk about guys who in high school or whatever you're friends with. Not there anymore because they've changed, you've changed. And that's another reason why I think it's good for you to still try to develop friendships at any age. When me and coach are in the retirement home, we're gonna have to, develop some friendships there. You know
And
what I mean?
purees.
At least play some chess or something. We gonna be in that. We gonna be in that rec room, coach. And I'm gonna see you. You gonna see me. You want to play some chess? And we're gonna walk in our walkers or wheelchairs, and we're gonna go there and play some chess. I mean, so again, so at every stage of your life, depending on where you're at, I think again having that door open to be able to form new friendships, new types of friendships, is gonna be important. And then what happens? Because again, we talked about the types of friends earlier that one may have, but the question you got to ask yourself is what happens. And it's again, and I've seen people devastated by this. What happens when that confidence dies unexpectedly? Then what are you going to do? Who's going to fill that role, or any of these guys for whatever reason phases out of your life at any given time? Are you going to replace them, or is that just going to be a big hole in your life going forward? But these guys, they did their job. You're confident. If that person, God forbid, passes, they took your secrets to the grave. But then there's always going to be something else. And so what do you do then? So again, it's like a football team, coach, or a basketball team. You got to fill a roster. NBA team, you need 12 players. NFL team, you need 49 players. Who's your starting? In this case, there's 6 roles here. Who's your starting 6 here? Or like I said, if this is basketball, you're starting 5. Who are they? And if one person is out for injury, sick, can't play, or whatever, who's coming off the bench? You have to think about these things over time. So again, if you're that person who's close off, all my friends from way back in the day, and some of these guys, especially depending on how you came up in a rough environment, you might have been the only one that got out. How many times have we heard, Coach, guys, you came from the hood or a violent environment, and by the time you're 35, all your boys who ride or die and all those kind of guys, they all died or locked up. And what are you going to do then? So again, be open. If there's a closing thought, I know we're getting towards the 2-hour mark here, so certainly want to start landing this plane. Just some things in terms of friendships, how to maintain, integrate into a routine. Again, that could be useful. It says don't wait for magical moments. Paired social time, daily errands like walking to go into the gym, something like that, just to hang out, hang together. Be proactive. You got to go out, go in and do things. Or sometimes just to call, just to ping. There's guys on my list that I just ping them. I'd be like, look, it could happen a couple times a year. Just hitting you up, just seeing everything's okay. I'm not looking for a long time unless you want one. Then I say, all right, let's talk. Quality over quantity. Again, don't try to base your friendships like you got to hang out every week. Couple guys, like I said, once a couple times a year, it might be the only time that allows for you to get together. But again, it's the quality of your bond. And then again, express your needs and listen to theirs to maintain balance. But again, not everybody needs to hear everything. There's certain friends I don't divulge information to because they're not what they're there for. So again, these are just some steps that I found that can certainly maintain some stuff. But we can go into certainly closing. We go into some closing thoughts and just get some perspective from the guys in terms of some of the things that we've talked about tonight. But friendships, I mean, it's obviously it can be a very essential part of your life. We do need them. We're human beings. We need interaction. We need closeness. But I don't think, again, it's fair for one person to do that. I don't think it's fair for your wife to be all those things to you. And she's probably the most special. My wife's the most special person in my life. But I don't expect her to be everything. And she knows that too. She knows like there's times I'm hanging out with the boys. Go ahead. She just knows. Do she just knows. It's like there's times, okay, they're hanging out, they're gonna do something. She doesn't get jealous or envious whatsoever. We don't do it often, but the times okay, look, go ahead and do your thing. So that's all I got. But certainly we can start out. But P, I want to thank you for coming up tonight, filling
Anytime.
the
That's what I'm here
space
for.
before Coach got here. But you want to share your closing thoughts on the subject?
Um, People come and go. Those real friends, they're always going to be there. It doesn't matter if they're 10 minutes away or across the world. If they're real friends, they will be there for you. But friends will always find a reason just to say, "Hey, checking up on you," and I'll leave it at that.
Coach?
Can you hear me?
Like,
I think just looking at the future, man, it's going to be interesting to see how people continue to develop their socialization of building friendships. Uh, I believe since COVID, people have gotten comfortable with being by themselves and being alone. Um, and I've always believed there's a difference between being alone and being lonely. Um, since I was young, man, I was able to again just compartmentalize my friends and sort of have keep intimate conversations, from leaking out through me. And here I am today, man. It's gotten being able to communicate also has put me in a lot of great positions throughout my life. Just being able to, like you spoke on earlier, to meet new people outside of black and white people. I used to have a lot of conversations just going back. When I was in Saudi Arabia, I was supervising some of the cooks, and the cooks were from Iran, Iraq, Yugoslavia. They were, in America, you get information believed that they so, you know, I guess bad against each other. But I was able to sit down with those guys and just have conversations about life, and they had some of the same concerns that I had at that time. And then I was 22 years old, 23 years old, and just taking that experience and utilizing it throughout my life, throughout my career, because I've had to um, conversate and develop, even within working relationships with people of all races, of all cultures, of all statuses. Just again, just always taking those little nuggets, whatever I got along the way, uh, applying it to my own friends. I had some friends that have gone through some troubles in their life, and I didn't feel a need to abandon them. They didn't, you know, they didn't delete nobody, do anything egregious with people. They just made some dumb decisions, and they had to pay for it. And they were able to, just like anybody else, have an opportunity to come out to redeem themselves. And just seeing them how they work through that and redeem themselves, it just gave me an honor to think that I've had something to do with that. Just my words of encouragement, my words of accountability. And along the way, I had to learn, and it taught me about myself. Just learning how to be accountable, make wise choices, avoid some things if I can. If I can't control it, I more than likely will try to avoid it as much as possible. But I still have, a young son that I'm worrying about as far as him being able to navigate and communicate throughout the world. And I'm seeing that play out in real time because he drives trucks. He's been to California. One time he goes up that way, I'm gonna see if I can ride with him for get up there a few days, man. Because he said, and he hasn't been riding a year. He's only been riding since July, and he's meeting people as he's traveling in real time. So, salute to that. And anybody who's willing to be open, because I think, and I shut up, America in the next 5 to 10 years is going to be a lot more diverse than what it is now. A lot of these neighborhoods, you're going to see a lot more diverse population of people walking the streets with, their families and things like that. That's where
Mm,
America's going to, because we see that AI is taking over a lot of the desk jobs. They even and see, this is why I love. And this is my last word. This is why I love staying connected to the military. Right. A few months ago, I went to base. Someone, because military gets everything first. They were talking about how even their jobs may be affected by AI.
mm,
They passing laws in reference to veterans on what they're going to do, and having those connections and communications. They put this law in place to be set for 17th of February, which was what, yesterday, 2 days ago. They've already voted to change the law back, so that law is now void when it comes to veterans and things like that. So me being able to have those connections, being able to keep those open lines of communication with people who may be long-term friends or short-term friends, but I'm very cautious. I don't need a hangout buddy today. I like professional friends, people that I
mm.
know who are actually doing things in life and trying to make their life and the community better. My hangout days are behind me. Maybe a basketball buddy, but that may spill over after we've developed a sort of a professional uh, friendship in a sense. We're
Yeah,
not talking about, girls and, just hanging out. We're talking about doing something that's really,
yeah,
to me, just benefit the community. So, yeah, I
right.
think, I would hope that somebody watches this um, show today and really just sort of reevaluate themselves and who they are and their friends that they have around them, so they can have the best outcomes possible. So, salute to that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just a reminder to people, certainly any questions that you may have for the coach or myself, we have our email. You can certainly drop email, ask coaches, NXT Training 101, Next Gen Training 101 at gmail.com. You can send your questions and inquiries there, and we will compile those and look to use those as topics for future shows. So I just wanted to put that out there. You can certainly reach out to us. We'd appreciate anything that you have to share with us. And again, a little different tonight. Like I said, more conversational tonight in terms of that. But again, I can't stress this enough. Expand your circles to more different types of people. Set your expectations properly, and when you do that, allow relationships to grow or evolve, or even go away in natural time. And allow though for if a void gets created, that be open, that it can be filled with someone else. And I think that'll be beneficial to everybody in this space. But I want to thank you guys once again for being with us. Pete, again, once again, thanks for stepping in. This is
I'm here
next
for
gen. This is Next Gen Training on the Sparta HQ Network. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And certainly just look forward to other show content. I know tomorrow night they have the wrestling talk show
it.
on tomorrow night. We also have the hangout on Saturday. What's the topic for the hangout on Saturday, Pete?
Zorro.
Zorro, Master Zorro. Okay, so we're
Yeah.
going to certainly go through that. And then Sunday on our Gray Area show, we're going to be talking about wedding rings. And just like we did with the is Valentine's Day, is it about romance or ripoff? We're going to ask the same thing about wedding rings. Again, is about romance or ripoff? Do you need to spend 2.5 months of your salary trying to get a wedding ring? Or can a sink washer, will that do the same job? Is it about the ring,
Oh,
or
I'm
is it
not going to
about,
say.
or is it about the, or is it about the commitment that you make to the person who you married? And so we're going to have that discussion Sunday night on the Gray Area, Sunday 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, certainly looking forward to that. Looking forward to that conversation. And but I'm just looking for the outro here. So for myself, the
I got
coach,
it, Paul.
I got it too. I
You got
just found it. You guys certainly take care. Enjoy the rest of your week. Take care. God bless. We will see you next time. Good night.